Welcome to the Live Sports of New Mexico show. This is our Christmas show. We want to wish all of our viewers a Merry Christmas. Today we're going to kind of really wrap up what happened in sports throughout the year, and then also really talk about the reason for the season, why we celebrate Christmas, what it means to us. My name is Chris. This is my co-host Brian. And
what's up? Yeah, and like Chris said, Merry Christmas to everybody. So glad that you're here with us, and we want you to know we're thankful for you. We love you, and it's going to be a fun show today as we talk about sports. But I just want to know, Chris, it's been a little bit since you've been on the show. You've been in the thick of middle school basketball season and all that kind of stuff. So catch us up real quick. What have you been up to? How'd the season go? We want to hear all about it.
Yeah, so with at Legacy Academy, we're trying to build something here. I mean, it's really building from scratch. I mean, we just started a 9th grade class, and so we're kind of at this awkward stage. And with our 9th grade class, only one of the boys wanted to play, and so I needed to bring my 7th graders up. I had 5 7th graders, 4 8th graders, and 1 9th grader, and we're playing against 9th and 10th graders.
On the JV basketball team. Wow.
JV, we play in the charter school league, and the way they do it is they have the first 2 months, they have their middle school and JV play, and then they go into their varsity season. Okay. Usually in public schools, they go simultaneously, they play. So that's why our season was short, 2-month season. But I think our kids grew a lot more than they did last year. I mean, they played middle school basketball last year. They were pound for pound with their peers, and they beat them up pretty good. But this year they kind of took the beating a little bit, and we're in some tough games, close games, lost by 4 or 5 points here and there, also won some tough games. So that's what I was really excited about, to see what our kids can do, see where the program could get to.
I think the fact that you won any games is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
With 7th graders versus 10th graders. I mean, sometimes, so that's outstanding.
Yeah, and that's what I told the kids. I was like, maybe the other team wasn't as good, but you got to know, they're bigger, they're stronger. Every game was a fight, and that's what you see. I mean, you see in the pros, they all say that they're not going to, feel sorry for anybody. If they get a win, it's a good thing, and so that's what it was for our kids. I mean, we won 4 games, and they just learned a lot from themselves. I mean, even those close games, I was like, they were winnable for us, and it was the little things, the missed box outs, the hustling for the ball, not executing the plays, not coming out of timeouts, the right way. So they learned that, and they took that to heart, and we watched film on it and saying like, hey, that was in the first quarter, that was a game-winning play right there. You missed that box out. They scored, they got a 3 or whatever it is. So I'm glad they really went through that learning experience.
So what are you most looking forward to next year when the season starts again?
Well, I'm thinking, next year again, it's like we're gonna have a 10th grade, and we might still be JV, we might be varsity, whatever it is. So it's really kind of up in the air, and I'm always thinking, God's got to provide the right people. That's what I think the process is. Here building a program is that I think word of mouth is going to get out, and we're going to get kids in that really want to play at a high level, and so that's what I'm really looking forward to, see what kids are coming in. I've already talking to parents and my other coaches too. We're seeing like, hey, this is what we got going here at Legacy. What do you want to do? I know you're in the there's kids in the public schools, how that's going. You want to be in a good Christian-based education, and just even if they don't make it outside of high school, it's still, you're going to learn some good values here.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think what the parents are more excited about. Like, hey, they're learning how to grow and mature and be leaders. And so that's always been my goal. I mean, the wins and losses, they're going to take care of itself. You might get a kid that will play at a high level, but it's really what can they take from that experience and apply it to their jobs and their careers later.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this too, that it is a phenomenal facility. I mean, and just the atmosphere, and they call it the jungle. Like, welcome to the jungle, play against the Legacy Academy Silverbacks. Like, it is a phenomenal experience, atmosphere, facility to play in. If you're in middle school going into high school, like that's a place you want to be. That's a place you want to play. It's like the Pit, but for students, and so it's unbelievable. And so I think, 2018, look out for the Legacy Academy Silverbacks. It's going to be awesome. And if you're interested, of course, give Legacy Church a call, 831-0961. yes, they sponsor our show, but we really believe in what they're doing there and the good things that are happening there. So I would encourage you to look out for that. Now, Chris, also, this year you got married.
Yes.
And so how's all that going?
It's going really good. You know, it's really cool because, you know, with that, I've always thought it was like, who's going to be, I'm going to marry someone that's going to be my best friend. You know, it's someone that I can hang around with, I could, you know, get along with each other. That's always been my main focus, and that's what it's been. You know, every single night we're laughing, we're having fun. Come home from long days of work, you know, and I'm racing home, you know, just to be with my wife, and really enjoying that, because usually it's like, well, you got to go to that person's house, you know, your girlfriend's house at the time, and then your boyfriend's house, so that gets tough. But you know, I just know, like, again, I always say it in all aspects of my life, God will provide, and yeah, he's done that for me with a great wife. So what did you tell everybody out there? Is it worth the wait? Oh yeah. Awesome. Definitely. Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. So again, like Chris mentioned before, we do have an awesome show for you. We promise that these lights won't be here the whole time. We don't want to annoy you and make you change the channel. But stick around. We're going to talk about the year in sports and what all happened. Then we're going to talk about just the season of Christmas, how it really is the best, most wonderful time of year, as the song goes. So thank you for being here, and we're glad to be back with you. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you back here with us in just a little bit.
Motion man, Keeperson. Gonna sling one deep, he's got Sosa! Sosa turns on the Jets, it's a foot race, touchdown, Cardinals!
At the Warrior 18-yard line. Ortiz looks to the left side, caught, touchdown, 18-yard.
He's got York all by himself. Terry York.
Down a little bit more. Ortiz 40, 45, 50. One man to beat. RJ Ortiz is going to score for Las Vegas. Robertson.
Erickson's going to get it on a sweep. Erickson's got a ton of speed. Look out. Andrew Erickson shot out of a cannon. Touchdown. Bowen takes the snap, he's gonna keep it. Rolling out to the right side. Bowen making a beeline for the corner. Did he get in? Yes!
Second on the 5-yard line. Brandon Stewart rolling to his right. Still rolling, throws. Caught, touchdown.
So first and 10 on the low snap, and Bird's going to quarterback keep it. It's a design play. Look out, Bird! He's loose! Jordan Bird down the sideline, and he's in. Touchdown.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. and you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Life Sports of New Mexico. Merry Christmas, it's our Christmas show. And of course we want to thank Legacy Church and invite you to our Christmas Eve services, December 23rd and 24th. They are going to be unbelievable. And let me tell you, there is a campus near you. We got one Central and Coors on the west side of town, Wyoming, Montgomery on the east side of town, Rio Rancho and the movie theater off Southern and Unser, even in Edgewood. So there is a church near you and going to have some phenomenal Christmas services. And let me tell you, this ain't your grandma's church. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be powerful, exciting, and also get you in the Christmas spirit. So hope you'll join us. Check out legacychurch.com for more details on that. And Chris, I want to just kind of talk this Christmas year, kind of being thankful for all that's happened. And we know a ton has happened in sports throughout the year. So just let's kind of go through the year. What has happened? What's gone on in this wide world of sports?
Yeah. Well, you know, the big headline's always, you know, the Ball family. You know, that's what I've looked into. And I just kind of studied it. You know, I'm not like I'm going to buy all big baller brand stuff. But, you know, it's like kind of, you know, see how, you know, LeVar raises kids and how they're coming about and what's happening with them, just kind of taking things that, you know, maybe I'll use that, maybe I won't use, you know, certain things. And
do you think he talks too much?
I think it's gone pretty far.
Okay.
I think, you know, there were times where, like, you know what, he has a lot of confidence, which I wish, you know, after a certain point, I think when Lonzo got to the NBA, now it's his time to do that, because there's a lot of you know quarterbacks and point guards that say, hey, I'm the best in the league, and it's not an arrogance thing, it's a confidence thing. And so I think that's what LeVar has tried for his son. And I get it, how he wants, you know, well, if he does that, now everyone's going to come at Lonzo and they're going to get his best shot. That's going to grow him better. But I think it gets to a point where it's too much. His middle son, Jello, you know, he gets in trouble in China, and, you know, going kind of a little bit sense of entitlement, saying like, oh, well, the president, you know, should have flew him on his own plane or whatever it was. And now he takes him out of UCLA and bad-mouthing UCLA and what they're doing. I was like, well, that's a little too far. I mean, I understand you have a path. And even Coach Alford, he went out and said, you know, I wish him the best. You know, that's his decision. It was a family decision. But for him to come back and say, you know, I can get him better than UCLA, and so that's where it could draw a line right there and say, you know what, that's a little too much.
I think he also made the statement that one-on-one he could beat Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Oh, that's just.
What do you think of that?
I think that's just entertainment. That's just silly, because you know it's one of those things that you know the media, you know, people watching the media and on Instagram and Twitter, like, oh, they're gonna comment all day on that. So I think it was just one of those. And it's like, if you got drawn into that one, that's, well, you played into what he wanted to do and get that going. I think that kind of started it off, really. You know, he's kind of loud when they interviewed him at UCLA, but when all of a sudden that came about, saying, oh, he could be Michael Jordan, then everyone got all over it, and so that was a crazy statement, but it worked for him.
Yeah.
It worked for how he wanted to work. So.
Yeah, and then of course they have all their new brand, their new clothing and shoes and all that. In fact, me and some of my buddies, we got together and we bought some shoes from Walmart, like the cheap Dr. Scholl's, the white like nurse grandma shoes. We all bought a pair of these shoes, and then we had this contest to like, all right, who can make the best big baller shoes. And
I saw that.
So one guy spray painted them gold. Another guy spray painted his. I took a toy basketball and cut it in half. I made pumps. Remember the old school Reebok pumps? Y'all remember those? And so we had this, and then I took the price tag on. I left the tags, and then I changed it. It was like $26, but I made it like $826. And so we made the best big baller shoes that you have ever seen. Let me tell you. In fact, you can check it out on YouTube. YouTube, look up the UABQ. It's our student ministry at Legacy Church. Check out the video, the Big Baller series. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, that was a good one. And I think that's what really it comes down to. It's branding. I think especially in sports. I mean, I'm pretty sure Nike and Under Armour and Adidas, they make $5 shirts, but they sell them for $60 with just their logo, and that makes a big difference. I mean, there's shirts you go to Walmart and they don't have any logos on it. It's $5 shirt, but then you see that UA, you see the Adidas.
Absolutely.
That's the difference. So I think that's what they're trying. They're trying that out.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with the Ball family. What else gone on in sports this year?
Well, also I think we saw a really good game last week with Philadelphia and the LA Rams, and
it was a great game.
Man, it was just back and forth. Two really good teams really fighting for good playoff spots, and seeing Carson Wentz, who is a very outspoken Christian, and he goes into the end zone and he gets hit pretty hard. And for personally thinking, usually the bad injuries are the ones that have no contact because it's like a bad step or whatever. So so my thought was like, okay, he got bruised up a bit. Maybe it hurt, whatever, and he could come back in. But for Philadelphia to hear that he tore his ACL was pretty rough on him. Second year he's playing really good football. But in his interview, he talked about how God just has this perfect plan for him. He talked about how he's got to really evaluate his life and evaluate what God's doing through his injury, what he's going to be doing with his teammates, his coaches. So I thought that was just a really cool perspective he took about it. Everyone thinks that everyone tries to plan their life or plan things to go the right way, and for him to just say, you know what? It looked promising. It looked like we're on a Super Bowl run, but we'll see. We'll see what God has for him and his teammates.
Yeah, and we've actually had shows where we've talked about failure and we've talked about setbacks. We encourage you to go back, watch these shows. Maybe they'll encourage you. Maybe you're facing an injury or some kind of failure, some kind of setback. Well, know that it's not over. It's not the end. Don't put a period where God only puts a comma. That if you're not dead, you're not done. There's still hope for you. So go back, watch those shows, because failure really isn't final. And it's funny because I was watching that game and I was saying to myself that Carson Wentz is the best quarterback I have ever seen. Like in my life, I was watching him, his fundamentals, his technique.
Right.
I mean, just the way he plays, his just his knowledge of the game and his abilities, his talent. He is the best quarterback I have ever seen play the game. And I was thinking, this guy's going to be the best ever. And then, like, right after that, the injury happens. I'm like, I'm gonna post something anyway. I posted it. But I think he's going to come back. He's going to come back stronger. And I really do believe it. If he can stand the test of time, he's going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, just you see the jump from last year to this year. I mean, how much he's improved. I think that's what he's doing. I think even with this injury, now he's going to have more time to do that, study the game. And I think that's what's so important for athletes to do. And I always encourage my student athletes that, man, when I text them, I say, hey, watch this, Duke versus Michigan State game or whatever. I always say, watch it and then study it. Don't just watch the highlights. I mean, everyone wants to be on Instagram watching the highlights, the ankle breakers, the alley-oops, but you have to look at what are they doing? How did that play develop? Why are they running this play? Why did that coach call a timeout there, or whatever it is? And so I think that's what's really important for all athletes to understand, and just really that you have to study the game, and you have to think about injuries are a part of it. They're always going to be a part of it, and you just got to think about what is God doing in this moment right now? Why did this happen? And not just like, oh, why is it happening to me? Is everything God hates me? No, it's what is God going to grow in you? Maybe it is the mental part. Physically, if you're physically down, He wants to grow you mentally. Maybe if you're mentally down and you need to grow physically. You need to get back in the weight room where a coach just says, you know what, this off season, you just need to get in the weight room and get stronger. And that happened to me. That's what mentally I was there. Okay, I understood the game, but it was all right. You got to get stronger. You got to get faster. And so whatever it is, God always has us working through something.
Absolutely. And it certainly has been a big year of sports. A lot has happened. We're only able to cover a few things, but as we look back and see all the big things that happened, we know that next year's probably going to be even better, probably even more exciting. So we're excited about it, and we're excited about our next topic. It's Christmas, so stick around. We'll be right back.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Welcome back to the Live Sports of New Mexico show, our Christmas show today. And we really want to get into that, really talk about Christmas and this time of year and what it means to all of us. I know it means something to everybody, right. Because I know a lot of people acknowledge this time of year. Great time to get together with families, to buy each other gifts. And, even as a kid, you hear the story, of Santa and all that stuff, but I think eventually you wonder why. Why are we celebrating this? And eventually the truth comes out. We celebrate the birth of Jesus during this time. And when I found that out, it really opened my eyes to what goes on, because now as I get older, it's more, as you get older, you want to give more. And I think that's what's really happened to me. It usually was make sure I'm good enough. I got my wish, I got my Santa's list, and everything. But now it's more of like, man, I want to give, and you start hearing about that. I mean, people are giving to charities. This is the time of giving, and I think that's really symbolic to what Jesus did for us and what God's done for us. Is that it's really just celebrating that. How Jesus just changed the world like no other, and so I really think it's really important. Eventually, you're good to know. I mean, it's whether how young you are, how old you are, how you got brought up, what you believe in. Eventually you're going to ask why. You're going to be curious why. And people, and even if they don't believe it, can't deny. Like, well, yeah, we celebrate, Jesus' birthday on this day. So, I think it's really just a good time to kind of, bring it out with everything going on in the world. Everyone, at least for a moment, comes together and acknowledges, Jesus.
Absolutely, and it's God's greatest gift to the world was sending His Son, that whoever believes in Him will be saved, and so that's what it's all about. So, can you remember? You talked a little bit about your childhood. Can you remember the greatest gift you ever got, or your favorite present?
Man, it was usually. I always like playing video games, like Madden or whatever. So I'd always anticipate for that. I always get that. But I remember one year it was kind of it was happy for a moment. Then it was kind of disappointing because at the time, and I'm a Chargers fan, and I really liked Drew Brees at the time. My favorite quarterback. And so my parents gave me this nice Drew Brees jersey, and I'm like, yes, I got it. And then after the season, he gets signed with the New Orleans Saints, and even as a fan and wearing the jersey, I was like, oh man, that was, for a moment I was like, oh, I liked it, but then they had a pretty good quarterback after in Phillip Rivers. So, but yeah, I remember that, getting that jersey and then hearing that he got traded. But
bummer.
It was rough.
It's funny. I'd have to say mine is football related as well. I got the Dallas Cowboys, the whole uniform. I got the plastic helmet, with the face mask, a little jersey, little fake shoulder pads, even the pants. I remember putting it on the house and running around, and I don't know, I probably tried to tackle my sister. It was amazing. I just remember being so fired up about that present.
That was my Halloween. I had a Chargers when I had a Halloween.
Did you have one of those?
Yes. I would play outside with my friends. I would have mine. They would have their favorite team. We would all have our favorite teams on. So it looked like a Pro Bowl out there with all the different helmets.
Yes, those are the best.
Yeah, those were cool.
Oh man, it's always great getting presents. But just like you said, the greatest gift, the greatest present is that gift of Jesus. That's why we celebrate. Without Jesus, we're eternally separated from God. But with Him, we can have our own relationship with Him. We can get to heaven one day, and it's only possible because of Jesus, because He came. And there's nothing we have to do. It's not like we can earn our way to God, but He did it for us. He paid the price. That's why it's such good news. Jesus paid the price, and all we have to do is accept and believe, and man, it changes everything. Changed my life, and I know changed yours, and so. It's interesting that this time of year that can really be so happy, so joyful, and because of this good news, so many people, though, are sad. They're hurting. They say suicide is way up. Depression is up. It's just kind of can be a sad time as well.
Right.
What do you think people can do about that?
Well, I think it's just really, reaching out to somebody, whatever it is. I think a lot of people with, those thoughts is they kind of like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to hear it. I don't want, that's what I think it could lead to. But I think most of the time we just got to reach out to somebody. I mean, there's family, I know I've always had my family through thick and thin. I know they're there. I know I have some friends. I have some people I could go to. I think that's really important for us, just to surround ourselves with those people, because then during the holiday time, you get gifts from those people. You get Christmas cards, and it's like, hey, someone's thinking about me. And so I think that's what's really important. I don't think it starts here. It's not like, okay, I got to go find somebody now. I think it's really, you build that up. You build relationships with people. And even if you don't agree with each other, like, hey, you're just trying to help each other out. And so I think that's what really happens to people, is they just start thinking about, like, oh, I'm no good. My family doesn't like me. But I remember, I've had battles with my parents and fought with them, but I remember Christmas, it was just that joyful time. But it's because we've had that relationship. We developed it. And so like I said, I think relationships are really important. Just reach out to somebody. I mean, it doesn't matter who, especially, I even think during this season, it's like, if you're on the street, like, hey, I'm just looking for someone to talk to. I think people are more accepted to say, like, hey, I mean, maybe it's someone at the store, maybe it's someone at a restaurant, they're just like, oh, let me sit down and talk to you for a minute about why this happens, why, maybe people think, like, why am I alone during this time? This is when everyone are around their family. Why am I alone?
Right.
So I think it's really just, hey, just reach out to somebody.
I think it's awesome. And something I've learned is the difference between happiness and joy. So happiness is external, it's based on what happens to you. Right. And it's a feeling that comes and goes, or it's quick, or you're happy for a little bit, then it's gone. But joy, on the other hand, is internal, and it's a choice. It's not about what happens to us. It's about our choice. It's about who we know, not about what happens to us. And I think if we really know God, then we can have that joy, because we know that He loves us. We know that He'll never leave us, that we're never alone, and we can have that true joy. So many people chase happiness and they end up disappointed. But if they would just chase God, then they'd end up with real joy. Right. And so I think this time of year, it's important to have joy. We don't want you to be sad or depressed. We want you to have the joy that God wants you to have, but it doesn't come on your own. You got to chase God. You have to choose Jesus. Choose to have joy. And I want you to know that Chris and I were praying for you. We appreciate you. Thanks for being with us on this journey, and I hope you know that God has great things for you. So choose Him, chase Him, and watch how He brings you the joy and really a full, great life like you were meant to live. Merry Christmas, and God bless you.